has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michelle Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 215, Vegan Business Advice with David Pannell. Welcome back, my Veg Your Besties, and welcome if you're new here. This could be a very interesting first episode for some of you new listeners to experience, because there are so many different aspects to a vegan or plant-based practice. And this week we have a guest, and for some of you who sometimes think about starting a business or a side hustle or partnering with someone on a plant-based product, or even just working in your own field, but letting that work be more informed by your ethics or your interest in veganism, this is your opportunity. David Pannell is a true expert in the field. Co-founder of Vegan Business Tribe, it's a community and a resource hub for vegan entrepreneurs. David brings a wealth of experience in marketing, business growth, and energy to this unique challenge that's faced by so many vegan businesses. And in today's conversation, we're going to explore David's personal journey from running a successful marketing agency to becoming a champion for vegan businesses, his ideas about some of the misconceptions about vegan entrepreneurship and why it's certainly not just about food, overcoming the discomfort many ethical entrepreneurs have about money, and the importance of embracing your own personal vegan identity in business. I think you'll hear a lot of practical advice for all of us, aspiring vegan entrepreneurs, as well as people who are interested in vegan businesses, including how to test a business idea. And even if starting a vegan business is nowhere on your personal horizon, David offers a lot of really interesting and valuable ideas, I think, about understanding the challenges and motivations behind vegan businesses and how that can help us make more informed choices as consumers. As David Pannell points out, many vegan businesses find their biggest market among non-vegans, and that's where a lot of the conversation will help people embrace a more compassionate lifestyle. So this highlights the broader impact these businesses can have everywhere in introducing plant-based options and plant-based ideas to a wider audience. So that's enough. Stop. Let's listen to David Pannell, and I'll see you on the other side. David Pannell from Vegan Business Tribe, welcome to Veg Your Best.
Well, thank you so much. And it's wonderful to be here, Michelle. I am actually a little bit of a fan of yours as well. So we might have a little bit of a vegan loving today.
That would be fabulous. I'll tell you, all morning I've been tense. I'm thinking I'm a little bit of a chill gal. And I've been thinking, how do I up my energy to match yours so it doesn't sound like two people in two different conversations going on?
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. And, you know, I had the exact same thought when I was listening to a couple of your podcasts, because I usually am quite high energy and kind of bouncing off the walls kind of person. And you've got this lovely presenting style, which is really relaxing. So, yeah, I'm sure that we can meet somewhere in the middle.
Excellent. Because actually, I do recommend to people, if they find me a little dull, to put me on 1.2 or 1.5, sometimes 2, if I'm a little low energy. So welcome. And can I say, I'm going to try to put it in. I'm going to try and have my sound guy put in a clip. Da, 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 da. You have the best theme song.
Oh my gosh. Do you know, even my 18-month-old daughter started whistling that now. I hear our Vegan Business Tribe theme song so obviously and so many places. But yeah,
It's
thank you for
great.
picking that up.
Where is it from? Did you do it? Is it a
No, it's purely just stock, but it's very old stock. So if I go back to my previous career, I actually used to run a marketing and advertising and business growth agency. And so we had this wonderful collection of different media and stock. So it's something that I've had for years. So I don't know if it's still online. I don't know if people could go and get it and steal our theme tune. But yes, Scott knows where it originally came from.
It's great. I love it. And then the more I listen to it, the more I walk away. Well, anyway, we'll get to all that. We'll get to all of that.
We're jumping ahead. We're jumping ahead. Yeah.
But what you just said reminds me, you have a long business career, a specialty in marketing that precedes your Vegan Business Tribe endeavors. Can you tell us, in a little bit what your kind of professional vegan journey has been?
Yeah. No, I mean, this is a really interesting conversation to have because I think my journey is quite similar to a lot of our members who come and join us at Vegan Business Tribe. Because when you think about having a vegan business, everybody thinks about food. They think, yeah, I'm going to make cupcakes. I'm going to do this amazing vegan home delivery food service or something like that. Whereas when you look at our members of Vegan Business Tribe, probably less than 20% have got anything to do with food or drink. And that amazes people as well. So I think my journey is quite similar, maybe to yours and maybe to some of our Vegan Business Tribe members. So before I was vegan, myself and my wife, Lisa, who's my Vegan Business Tribe co-founder, we were actually running quite a successful marketing, branding and business growth agency. And then we turned vegan and everything sort of changed because I think when you turn vegan, you do start with food. You start with what you're eating because that's the obvious place to start. But then you start considering what you're wearing, your cosmetics, what you're putting on your body. But at some point, you actually say, well, what am I doing with my time? I'm really passionate about this cause. I really want to help the vegan cause move forward. So can I actually use my time and my professional skill sets to do that? And that's the exact same journey that myself and Lisa went through. So we had this really diverse professional skill set of helping businesses grow through marketing, through business growth strategies, through lots of different ways. And we said, well, instead of helping the non-vegan businesses grow, let's take our skill set and instead let's go help vegan businesses grow. And that sounds so simple, but we discovered very, very quickly, vegan businesses have no money. So if you can imagine, we were going out there as consultants, charging consultancy rates, and not many people were returning our phone calls. So we said, well, what can we do with our skill set? So what we actually started doing was the first couple of years that we had a vegan business, we were working almost exclusively with non-vegan companies. We were helping some of the high street fast food chains. We were helping some of the Unilever brands and people like that, just to understand the vegan marketplace and to understand vegan consumer buying behavior. And we did that for about 2 years. We made some quite good money out of doing it. But we kept coming back to this idea, we want to work with vegans. We want to help vegan businesses. And we said, well, if we can't do that in a one-to-one consultancy way, because vegan businesses have no money, then could we instead do that in a membership way, just by kind of, one-to-many, bringing all these vegan businesses together. So that's what we did with Vegan Business Tribe. We launched it about 4.5 years ago. We've built up an absolutely wonderful community of vegan businesses and vegan entrepreneurs, and we just haven't looked back since.
Well, this opens up to so many things that you do at Vegan Business Tribe. Is one of the many things you suggest for people who may have a goal either immediately or in the long range to have that impact through vegan business is you don't have to figure out how only to sell to vegans.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's so interesting that when I talk to our Vegan Business Tribe members, probably exclusively, anyone who's got a vegan business, they find that their biggest marketplace is non-vegans. And so if we start with food, because everyone thinks food when they think vegan businesses, even people like Beyond Meat, their own internal research shows that 93% of their customer base are meat eaters. And, we've got people at Vegan Business Tribe who are like vegan accountants, vegan graphic designers, vegan, web builders, and they find the exact same thing. And I think it's because nowadays, people view veganism not necessarily just about food and animal rights, but they view it as just saying that you are ethical and environmentally conscious. And everybody wants to use a customer or supplier who is ethical or environmentally conscious. And so, people are really open to the idea of using vegan businesses. So yes, if you are going to have a vegan business, then you will probably find that your biggest marketplace will be amongst non-vegans. And that's great anyway, because as I always say, if you've got a vegan business and you only sell to vegans, you've kind of missed the point anyway of having a vegan business. We want to engage pre-vegans and non-vegans to find out more about the vegan cause and animal rights. So that's probably not a bad thing to do.
I agree. I totally agree. I never consider that to be a negative at all, because in some ways, sometimes you're just normalizing yourself as a competent, clever, successful human being who's also vegan. And you're just showing people that we're not just this weird group that lives in a camper van down by the river.
Well, that would be nice as well. And I do know some vegan businesses who live in camper vans down by the river, and they're absolutely lovely people. But yeah, absolutely.
But we're not all that way, right?
We're not all that way. Some of us are, but most aren't. And I think that's the thing about activism. Activism is the strongest when you're using the skill sets that you've already got. And I think business as activism, the reason that's so powerful is you can actually bring together how you make a living, how you're actually earning your money with your activism. And that's what makes it so efficient and just so powerful sometimes.
I totally agree. And so this is going to be mostly me in this interview say, yeah, I totally agree, I think.
I can live with that.
I'm probably not going to go, what? What are you talking about? But what you say there is what I say with my clients is always start with the skills you have. Yes. Always start with what you have. Please don't think that the only way to do any of this, whether it's starting a business or starting a family or certainly going vegan, don't start with the things you already can't do. If you're not a baker, please do not start with trying to figure out how to bake in a vegan manner using flax seeds and pureed bananas. I mean, if it's not you, don't do it.
I love that advice. I love that advice because I've actually had that conversation with somebody who was a lawyer, turned vegan, and decided that they were going to make cupcakes. And I'm like, what? No, because you've got this amazing skill set that we need and that we need in the movement and that other vegan businesses need. Lean into that skill set. What the hell do you know about making cupcakes?
And maybe you'll enjoy doing it in your free time. Like I recently learned how to make vegan pancakes. I've been vegan for about 10 years, and I now have 7 small grandchildren. And, recently I was thinking, I'd like to make them pancakes, but I've never made pancakes since I've been vegan. And so that's when I learned it, when I had a reason to maybe learn how to do it. Yeah. If I had tried to make all these things that I don't normally do anyway, part of my vegan journey, it would have slowed me down in so many other ways. So you work with lots of businesses that work in the tribe and work with you one-on-one because you have a mentorship that you provide for people in the vegan business tribe and others. Tell me, what are the common things when people are new in business and they identify as vegan? What are some of the common things that you end up working with them on?
It's so interesting because thank you so much for mentioning the one-to-one mentoring. I will pay you later for that. But it's so interesting about the issues that people have. And I think the first one echoes back to that statement that I made earlier about vegan businesses have no money. Vegans seem to hate making money. They seem to be so uncomfortable with it. And I'm kind of maybe talking about myself there as well. But, you can do far much more good in the world with a profit than you will ever do with a loss. And you really have to get comfortable with making money, because if you don't have a business that is financially stable and can actually pay you a living wage so that you can have a decent standard of living, you will just burn out, and if you burn out, you won't be able to keep doing the things that you're doing. So I think that's the biggest obstacle that many people who start a vegan business have to overcome. This whole idea that you are going to make money and you've got to make money within the vegan sector. And, people will always say, yes, but we're not in it for the money. And I get that. And 100%, that wasn't the reason you started it. But money in business, it's like electricity. If that stops, everything else stops. And then you can't do the good that you set out to do. So, yeah, I think that's probably one of the number one things that we come up against and really have to get people comfortable with that idea.
That's a very interesting subject matter, because I see that come up a lot. I see it come up with a lot of people who identify in a helping, giving, socially progressive sort
Mm,
of way.
mm,
And um, I consider it part of self-care, the way you also have to get out in the morning and maybe get some fresh air and drink water and nurture yourself in many other ways. Like it or not, we pay the bills in this world with cash still, with money. And some of the people I talk to feel that they open themselves up in a progressive community, in a community that's typically the
mm.
vegan community tends to be very oriented around social justice and progressive other progressive ideas, and they feel like they're going to be criticized. Do you think that's unusual among my clients?
No, I think you're 100% right. And again, that's what we get at Vegan Business Tribe all the time. This whole kind of uncomfortableness
Mm.
about, thinking that all the money has to go to the animals. It has to go to a sanctuary. It has to go to a non-for-profit. And that, you being there in the middle are just kind of getting in the way of that money. And you can't take any for yourself. But if you look at who we're up against, if you look at the industries such as animal agriculture, such as the meat industry, such as the dairy industry, they pay some of the highest wages in the world. They employ the best of the best to promote their industry and to promote their product. And those people, they understand that they do have to go off and take 2 weeks in the mountains or just taking these holidays to recharge, and they do understand that they have to take time off and they can't work 24 hours a day, because if they did, they wouldn't be at the top of the game and they wouldn't be able to sell their industry as well as they did. So we have to take some of that ourselves. We have to realize that if we are going to be efficient business people, then we've got to concentrate on ourselves. And I think the analogy that I'd make to this is, imagine if you had a business where you had a piece of equipment in that business which was absolutely crucial to that business's success. So imagine if you had a delivery company and you've got a delivery vehicle. You would really look after that vehicle. You'd make sure it was serviced. You make sure that it didn't just fall apart on the road, because your business really relies on it. We've got some musicians at Vegan Business Tribe, and the amount of love they give to their instruments and looking after their instruments because they need those to make a living is absolutely just wonderful to see. But when you think about yourself, you are that essential piece of equipment to your business. Your business could not run without you. And if you fall apart, and if you are not looking after yourself, and if you are not at the top of your game, then your business is never going to be successful. And so that is so important. That whole idea that you are the battery for your business, you are the energy behind your business, and it's just not going to work if you're turning up to your desk every day with your head in your hands, just not wanting to be there because you're absolutely burnt out. So yeah, I agree with that 100%.
It's important, I think, because everybody has to navigate that space a little bit for themselves, what they're comfortable with. But the idea that when you put yourself forward and you say, yeah, and you identify maybe as vegan or maybe as sustainable or plant-based, what you put yourself out for, there are unfortunately people who are going to try to catch you doing something that doesn't sound 100% aligned perfectly. And I always say, let's make friends with the idea of hypocrisy, because hypocrisy is part of learning. It's part of saying, I identify this way. I'm not there yet. I'm learning how to do that. I grew up, I spent 40, 50, whatever years indoctrinated in one kind of thought system. And now I'm stepping out of it. And it can be really hard on people who aren't super confident in the way they present themselves. Or my husband, I always feel like my husband is a classic person who just doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. Not everybody's the same.
No, not everyone is the same, but I think you've picked up on a really important point there. I mean, I'm not the same vegan that I was 5 years ago. And I know that I'm not the vegan now that I will be in another 5 years. People talk about veganism being as a journey, and it doesn't stop when you turn vegan. And that applies to whether you have a vegan business or not. You keep learning and you keep understanding. And I think, some of the criticisms that I would have maybe leveled at people 5 years ago about veganism, I now have a completely different view on it. I mean, one of the things, one of the conversations that we've had at Vegan Business Tribe over and over again is, do you actually use the word vegan or not? if you've got a vegan business or a vegan product, because all the research shows that if you call a product plant-based, then more people are going to buy it. And so that used to be my advice to people. 5 years ago, if you said, do I call it vegan or plant-based, I'd have said plant-based 100%. But now I've learned that what that actually does is that in some ways plays into animal agriculture's hands, because if you've got a business or you've got a product and you call it plant-based, you've got rid of your differentiator. You've got rid of that one point of difference that you can actually fight bigger brands on. The big people like Burger King or the meat companies or the dairy companies, they can't sell a product on their vegan ethics. And that's partially why they use the word plant-based, whereas we can. If we've got a vegan business, we can talk about our vegan ethics all day long. And that's the only place you can beat a lot of these companies. So now, that whole progression of an idea is, I will recommend to people, embrace that vegan word. Even if initially it does mean that you don't quite sell as many products or you don't get that initial engagement, over the long term, you will be much more likely to survive. So that's just one example of how I've changed, in vegan business. But, there are people now who say, yeah, if you use the word plant-based, you're turning your back on the vegan movement. And I wouldn't say that either, because I'm at this place now where I'm much more kind of holistic about my approach to veganism. I do understand that if we want to get the people who are furthest away from the vegan cause, we can't do that by going in all hardcore with them. We've got to pull them towards us as well. So yeah, that whole idea that we are on this journey, and that journey, it doesn't end when you turn vegan. In some ways, it only just starts.
I agree with that. With this, it works in every aspect of our lives. Sometimes I think we think, because vegan ends with that ism, that there's like a one way of doing it and one right way of doing it. Yeah. And the world's a very complicated, messy place. We have so many different kinds of people and situations and emergencies and crises, and we can't solve them all, I think, with one ism in general. So, and why would we want to do that to something that's as beautiful a concept as doing as little harm to animals and the earth as you can? Why would we want to make that worse than it is? So I love to use the word vegan. And I also have learned to be a little braver about possibly somebody seeing that I still have a car that has leather upholstery. Yes, I do. I have not given away that car. So it's you can take your shots at me in certain areas of my life that still are not 100% dialed in. My husband has vegan upholstery on his car. And he's not vegan.
Yeah, and the thing is, I always say I can never take the moral high ground on things like this, because I didn't turn vegan until I was 40. I had 2 children when I was younger, and I raised them both as meat eaters. And so they're now coming up to 21 and 19, my 2 eldest children. And, they do engage with veganism. They eat vegan when they're with me, and I will only buy them vegan food. But if I go to them and say, look, you have to turn vegan, what you are doing are wrong, they'll say, but this is what you taught me. This is how you raised me. And I think we always have to remember that we've got this past, that we were hypocrites ourselves, and we will continue to be so. So that whole idea of just becoming comfortable with that. And I think, when you're doing vegan advocacy, you don't want people to view you as if you are a separate species to them. You want them to understand that you stood where they're stood now, but you learned something, and then there was a pathway to being, what you are now today. There is a reason why you turned vegan. But if you take that moral high ground and you have that really high line of hypocrisy, you kind of not been true to yourself, because few people were born vegan. Now, I'm very lucky that I've also got an 18-month-old daughter, and she was born vegan, and we're raising her vegan, and she's going to have a very different, view of the world around veganism. But to me, if I'm talking to someone who's not vegan, I've probably eaten more animal products over my life than they have. That's why I turned vegan in the first place, was for my health and to just try and eat a little bit healthier. So yeah, there is no way at all that I can take the moral high ground with absolutely anybody in this world.
I agree. And the issue I always find is, every time I learn more and do more, I learn more still. I don't feel that vegan is the answer to all issues. There are so many things that still exist for me to learn about where I can maybe make a better choice, a kinder choice, a more sustainable choice. And that's what I think is a beautiful thing, is that we're still open. We're not done and in any kind of judgment of the rest of the world. We're trying to show them you can have a lot of fun with this lifestyle. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about all the business mentoring you do, the business advice you have. And in an episode, you were talking about 5 things you need to make a vegan business a success. And, I don't have a business podcast, but a lot of the people who come on have a dream of, especially being a solopreneur, kind of figuring out how to use what they know how to do and spin it in some way, maybe not identify as vegan publicly, but to be vegan and make the business a success. And you talk, a couple of things you say is to launch not just a business, but a mission. Can you say a couple words about that? Because I think that's beautiful.
I absolutely love that. And again, that is some of the advice that I give so often, because I think many people, when they've got a business idea, if they haven't done a business before, they think that you sit down, you make a business plan, you write it out, maybe you get a little bit of funding, and then you launch that business and it's just a success. I hardly know anybody who's actually done that. I think most of the successful businesses I know, the thing that they've become successful with is an opportunity that they didn't even know existed when they started out. But only by actually starting a business, engaging with customers and moving along that journey, did they actually find the thing that was going to make them successful. So that's why I say that when you're starting out a company, if instead you reframe that and say, well, I'm just on a mission here, I want to solve a problem in the world, what happens is people who agree with that mission, people who would love to see that problem solved as well, who would love to see that change in the world, they will be attracted to you. They will engage with you, that they will want to listen to you. They will subscribe to your social media. And those people will want to help you. They will want to build the business with you, because it is perfectly acceptable these days to build a business in public. You don't have to spend a year building a website and building your services and then launch it on the world, maybe to find out that nobody actually wanted it in the first place. You can do all this in public. So if you're out there and saying, look, my end point is just this goal, it's solving this mission, then you're going to attract people to actually come and help you who want to solve that mission too.
It's like that concept of 1,000 rabid fans, or maybe it's not rabid, but 1,000 people, true fans, yes. People who just want to hear about what you're doing, even if they're not necessarily going to buy every single thing you ever create. They want to be there, tell somebody about you, and that only happens when you get out there and speak up a little bit, right?
It does so much. And one of the pieces of advice I'll give people, if they just don't know what to do, so if they know they want a business and they've kind of got some maybe idea areas, but they don't know anything, they don't have anything concrete yet, is I say, just start talking. Social media is just so wonderful. I know it's got a lot of negative sides, but you can reach so many people on social media. And we had one Vegan Business Tribe member, and he knew he wanted to do something around mental health, but he wasn't sure what. And so what we advised him to do was just every morning when he was at the bus stop, waiting for his bus to take him to work, he would just record his thoughts on social media. He'd just go live. He'd talk about maybe a thought he'd had that morning about how to improve your social health or something like this. And over a period of about 6 months, he just started gaining followers and he started gaining interaction. And those people, they told him what business to build. They told him what they wanted by what they interacted with. And so a lot of the time, just start that way. Build an audience, get your thoughts out there and see who connects with those thoughts. Because I'm always of the opinion that nobody should ever buy from an independent business. Now, that's a weird thing for me to say, but the playing field is just completely tilted against us. All the big businesses, they've got millions of pounds of marketing revenue. We should not be able to compete against them. But people do. People buy from solopreneurs, people buy from independent businesses all the time. So what you've got to work out is what makes those people do that. because those people are weirdos. They're the people who are saying, I'm not going to go and buy from this big established company, which is probably the safer bet. I'm going to buy from you. So we've got to work out what it is about you that those people like, and just kind of having that conversation, just standing up and talking, maybe doing some local events, just getting on podcasts and things like that and talking about what's on your mind. That will actually help you to form a business idea, because people will tell you what they like and what they don't like. And as you know, the goal of any business is to solve a problem for somebody. So that really is sometimes the best way to start.
You sometimes talk about a company you just reminded me of, and I can't remember the name of the company, but it's like Pigeon Press. They make cards with pigeons on them.
Little Green Pigeon.
Little Green Pigeon. Yeah, and I
Susan Joyce, yes.
I think that's such a great example of the idea you don't have to create the business backwards. You don't have to start with the marketing plan. You could start with the creation. And this is exactly what you were just saying, is get out there, offer what you like to do or what you're good at, and then see what people snap up, what people turn their nose up at, and then have a conversation. See how you can meet them with something that they're interested. So Little Green Pigeon, they do a line of greeting cards, right?
They do greeting cards and gifts for people who love pigeons. How niche is that for a vegan business?
So niche. and that reminds me again of, you say that vegan is not a niche. Vegan's a sector. So I want everyone who's listening today there's a lot of fantastic seasoned business advice available through David and through the Vegan Business Tribe and through the many other members who are in the Vegan Business Tribe with you. And that's what's beautiful about it, is you can just get in there and just say, I don't understand what this term means. Can somebody explain it to me? Something as simple as that. Or I have this question and I want to engage somebody on it, but I don't even really understand the term myself. So can somebody kind of give me a little, so much wisdom available there. But in terms of niche, let's just go right back to that. Niche, vegan's not a niche, you say.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't come across this word niche, or I think you say niche over in the States, this idea that if you really drill down and you really look at a kind of, if you magnify something very small, that becomes your niche, and the people within that niche, they will buy from you because you really understand them better than other companies do. So it's sound business advice that if you really know your customer base and you really understand them and become friends with them, then that means your business is going to be a lot more successful. But a lot of people tell me that the niche of their business and the thing that's different about their business is the fact that they're vegan. So I'll get someone come to Vegan Business Tribe and we'll have this conversation about niching, and they'll say, well, I'm a graphic designer, but I'm vegan, so that's what's going to make people buy from me. And I'll just pause for a minute and I'll say, I hate to tell you this, but we've got 16 graphic designers within Vegan Business Tribe who are all vegan. So, all of a sudden, that isn't your niche anymore. Now, if you are a vegan graphic designer that works specifically only with artisan food companies, then that's a niche. And I'll happily accept that. But if you just say, I am my profession, but I'm vegan, I can probably find 10, 20 other people who are also of your profession and vegan. So, go back 10 years ago, maybe that might have been something different enough to actually make you stand apart from the rest of the crowd. But these days, no, absolutely not. Veganism, it's not a niche. It is just the base industry that you are within.
And so the niche helps people remember you. As you're saying, the Little Green Pigeon company, if you think, oh, I need a gift card or a birthday card for somebody or a Christmas card, because you enjoy them so much, you figure out how to use their cards, because that's the kind of appreciation.
And we do.
Yes.
Yeah, and we do. Whenever we've got any any family event coming up, or from Christmas to christenings and everything in between, we will buy a card from Little Green Pigeon, because Susan Joyce, she does wonderful work with she supports a number of sanctuaries with her shop and things like that as well. So yeah, and sometimes it's really the weirdest things that work as businesses. And just going back to this idea, of advice that we give when people are maybe starting out businesses. if I look at my own career, I spent the first half of my career building what I thought people wanted and then launching it on the world to find out that I was wrong. Then I spent the second half of my career actually finding out what people wanted first, and then only putting, energy and money into resources to those things that I'd already proven. And that is so important when you're starting out in business. Your job is to actually prove or disprove a business idea before you spend all your time and energy and motivation on it. Because we spoke about money early, and yes, money is really important in business. But it's not as important as energy and motivation. And if you use up all that energy and motivation on an idea that was never going to go anywhere, it was just a bad idea, but you just didn't know it, then we're going to lose you as a vegan entrepreneur. So as much as possible, and as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible, you kind of need to prove that idea really quickly. And so the idea of selling greetings cards for people who love pigeons, why not? And that's something that you can test out so quickly. If instead you said, well, I'm going to spend 6 months building a massive website with 400 different designs on it, and I'm going to put $10,000 into it, and then you launch it and discover that nobody likes greetings cards with pigeons on, then you've wasted all that things. But if you just launch a website that's maybe just on somebody else's platform, so you don't have to worry about e-commerce, maybe you've just got 3 designs on there to see if people like it or not, that will tell you everything you need to know about whether or not it is worthwhile putting all that energy and motivation into. And I think sometimes that's why you do end up with businesses that seem the most, ridiculous things sometimes, but they just work because that person's proven it, that person's tested it out.
And they become memorable and you enjoy it. And you know how to explain them to your friend or to your family member. You go, oh, you have to see this, instead of just like a Hallmark greeting, which is just every greeting card in the world for every possible. Who cares? Who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah. I was just going to say, and on that final point, there are people out there who really love pigeons. There are people out there, and not just people who keep or breed pigeons. There are lots of people out there who just love pigeons as birds, and they don't, they don't abuse them in any way. They don't cage them up, and they don't race them. They just love pigeons as a really misunderstood bird. And Sue's, she's got her own pigeon sanctuary, and Sue, when she's on TikTok, she just posts pigeon videos of her pigeons feeding, and she gets tens of thousands of views from people who just like pigeons because they're a really misunderstood breed. So yeah, there will always be that marketplace out there if you can find it, but you've got to prove that it's there first.
I don't want to go through every piece of advice you have for everybody, but one of them, before we let you go on with the rest of your evening, one of them is, I'm going to just try to say it the right way. Don't just improve your business, build a better you. This is what I try to encourage everyone to do with any goal they've got. Don't try to run a marathon. Try to blow your own mind about you and what you can do. Don't worry about the marathon. The marathon's just a stage or format for you to do something. Don't try to go vegan because then you'll be great or you'll be morally better than anyone. Do it because you're going to learn so much about where food comes from and how to take good care of yourself and your community. But when your business is also something like that, isn't it?
It is absolutely, and I love that piece of advice. And I keep saying I'm going to get a tattoo that says everything changes when you change, because I'll meet people at Vegan Business Tribe. So they come and join Vegan Business Tribe. Sometimes it's like it's a last resort to them, that everything else hasn't worked, and they have spent lots of money, they've spent all their energy, and they come into Vegan Business Tribe for help, and that's what we like to do. We like to give people help. But then you talk to them and you quickly understand why everything's failed. And it's not that they necessarily had a bad business idea. It's not necessarily that they didn't have the skill sets. It was that mindset, that they were just coming into everything with the wrong mindset, that they weren't open to kind of, sort of building themselves. And some of the most successful business people I know, they constantly have podcasts on the go. They constantly have audiobooks on the go. I do. I listen to 2 or 3 audiobooks a month because I can listen to them when I'm driving, when I'm cooking, when I'm doing household chores. And I do like having, traditional fiction audiobooks, but I always make sure that I've got at least one one self-development book or one business book, because all this information is just out there for free. And, so, some people who've really cracked this, who have really made a difference to themselves, they're out there ready to give you advice. And it's just sat there on the end of your browser. So you can really invest in yourself. And I come back to that saying, everything changes when you change. If you can be the sort of person who says, right, I'm going to give this my all, instead of staying up to 1, 2 in the morning watching Netflix, I'm going to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm going to get up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, because that's when you've got those glorious 3 or 4 hours when the family are still in bed. Nobody's calling you. No one's sending you messages. No one's expecting you to even be conscious, that you can really just concentrate on the things you need to concentrate on. And that might be business things that you need to concentrate on. It might be personal things like meditation or yoga. It might be fitness or exercise, but you can make that conscious decision to say, actually, I am going to change, that this is really important to me. So I'm going to take those wasted hours that I've just been throwing away, and I'm going to put them into something that's going to move me forwards and by extension, move my business forward as well. And when you do that, that's when things start to happen, and you start to feel better, you start to get more energy, and all that's, come about just from starting with yourself.
You are taking your own advice because you are currently in an incubator, right? Which is probably, a bit overwhelming. You probably need to wake up a little early or go to bed a little late to get everything done for that. Can you tell us a little bit about that, David?
Oh my gosh, Michelle, this is so interesting, because originally I was a little bit scared about talking about this, and talk about imposter syndrome that we all have. So I actually got accepted onto the ProVeg Kickstarting for Good incubator for social impact entrepreneurs, and when I found that I got accepted onto that, I mean, first of all, I was blown away, because they only had 20 spaces, and they got over, I think, 450 applicants to get onto this incubator. So when I got accepted onto that, first of all, I was really excited. But then I thought about, well, how's this going to look? I'm supposed to be the expert here. I'm supposed to be the person telling other people how to have successful businesses. And I'm going through a business incubator myself. But it has been absolutely extraordinary, because it's a little bit of me taking my own medicine. I always say that you need to surround yourself with other people who are on the same journey as you are. And that's exactly what something like a business incubator does. Another piece of advice I always give is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Whatever problem you've got in your business, or even in your life, to be honest, whatever problem you've got, thousands of people, maybe even tens of thousands of people, have already solved that problem. So the quickest way for you to solve that problem is just to go find them and ask them how they did it. Get them to show you how they solve that problem. And again, that's what an incubator gives you. So the people I'm working with on this incubator now, they are people like the founders of ProVeg. And ProVeg is one of the largest plant-based not-for-profit organizations in the world. They employ 200 people across the globe. So just getting time with people like that to sit down, look at what we're doing with Vegan Business Tribe, look at different routes to scale it, things that have worked for them. That is absolutely, gosh, it is invaluable. But one thing I didn't really appreciate is going through an incubator like this. I have to find an extra 10 to 15 hours a week to keep on top of everything we're doing. And there are two, very intense in-person parts of the incubator in Berlin, Germany, that I have to fly off to as well. And so, yeah, I've got to take my own medicine. That whole idea about creating more hours in the week. Now, I'm quite fortunate that we've got an 18-month-old daughter and we all sleep together in the same bed. So I'm going to bed at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock anyway. And I am genuinely asleep by 9 o'clock at night usually. So that gives me those extra hours. I can get up at 4:30 in the morning, and that's absolutely fine because I have, I've had my 7 hours sleep. So yeah, I'm taking my own medicine with it. One thing which is really interesting as well is, because I saw this as a learning opportunity for me, I saw it as a learning opportunity for our Vegan Business Tribe members as well. So I've actually been creating a video diary as I've been going through this business incubator. And it's probably some of our most interacted with content that we've ever produced over the last 4 years, which really surprised me. So, just showing what we're working on going through the incubator, trying to take you behind the scenes, talking about some of the questions it's given to me about what we're doing with Vegan Business Tribe and are we actually, going about this the right way. So I've put all of that into my video diary. That's available in our Vegan Business Academy. It's available on YouTube as well. And that's just been fascinating, seeing how people are loving seeing me build this in public and loving becoming behind the scenes with me. And I think it's because everybody likes a little bit of business entertainment these days, don't you? You've got Dragon's Den, you've got Shark Tank, you've got The Apprentice. People like to see people growing businesses. So again, that's why you should just do it in public.
That content about your diary for the business incubator is worth everybody showing up over there and signing up, get organized over there at Vegan Business Tribe, because that's just one small thing that's available, but it's super cool to be kind of going through with it. And, it's funny. I heard you talk about your discomfort about, does that make you look less like a business expert? And I don't know if it's if it's just in my world or if it's an American thing. Incubator isn't for new people. Startups aren't just new people. They're people who've got proof. They're trying to do something with their proof of concept. And so I don't see it as any way meaning that you are less capable in any way. So I'm excited to see what you do with it. And I want you to just now, for the next couple minutes, tell us exactly what's the order we should come over to Vegan Business Tribe, how we should sign up, what we should sign up for, and what's there for us.
Is this where I do my advert now?
Please do.
Oh, fantastic. Well, if you haven't worked out already, Vegan Business Tribe, we are a support community for vegan entrepreneurs or people who are thinking about starting a business as well. That's one thing I've got to be very careful about. We talk about vegan business, but we've got a lot of pre-start businesses as well. So if you've just got an idea for a vegan business, if you surround yourself with other people who have already launched their business, that's going to mean that you can launch it a lot quicker as well. So just head to veganbusinesstribe.com. If you click on the sign up link, I think at the moment we've got a 3-month trial, actually, so you can actually come and try us out absolutely for free, which is a great way to get to know us. As part of that, also, everybody gets a free 20-minute one-to-one with me, just to talk about their business idea, see how we can help, see if I can link you up with some people, can I signpost you to people. We've got our Vegan Business Academy that's got over 4 years worth of courses and guides and masterclasses and workshops that you can just spend hours and hours working through that. We've got the Vegan Business Tribe podcast, which is a great way to get to know me and just find out a bit more what we do as well. But we really kind of focused on building a community too. And so I think a lot of people come and join us at Vegan Business Tribe for the content and the academy and things like that. But the reason that they stay members and stay so long is because of the amazing community that we've got. So we do run online vegan business networking events for our members. And again, it doesn't matter if you don't have a business yet, just come down and meet people who do. We run business clinics. So if someone's got a problem, they can jump on a call and everybody gets 15 minutes to talk about a problem in their business. And then as a group, we do what we can to solve that problem as well. And we've also got this wonderful resource on Slack as well, which is just an open forum. So if you've got a problem in your business, you need help from other people, or you need help from me, just post that in our Slack channel. There's someone usually there 24 hours a day, because we've got members around the world who will jump on, help you out, give you ideas, or just be there to listen to you sometimes, because I think sometimes in business, you need to have that community around you. It can be so isolating starting a business. It's doubly isolating so when you've got a vegan business. So it's really important to surround yourself with those people who really understand who you are and why you're doing what you're doing.
I agree. That is what you just said is so valuable, because many of us start a business and many of us are vegan. And then if we are talking to someone or kind of muttering under our breath that that's not going that well, and somebody's like, of course not. Do you know how few people are vegan? And so we're not getting the advice of people who are in vegan or plant-based businesses that can help us rethink that for ourselves, because there's a reason we're interested in doing this. And I hate it when I think anybody out there has an idea or a goal that they'd love to just at least explore, and they're not doing it because the people around them don't get it.
I'll just pick up on that point. I'm just going to pick up on that point because that's really so important. We have people joining us at Vegan Business Tribe. I'm coming for the one-to-one coaching that we do as well, who have already had a business coach. And that business coach hasn't been vegan. And their biggest piece of advice to them was just drop the vegan stuff. They're saying, look, it's a niche market. There aren't enough vegans in the world. You're going to put off customers if you keep going on about this vegan stuff. So just drop that and go do something which is far more profitable. That's the advice that these companies have already got before they come and join Vegan Business Tribe. So yeah, it is so important that you do surround yourself with people who just, not just that they have the skills and that they've got the experience, but they understand your mission, that they understand that, okay, you're setting up a vegan business and your number one priority might not be to make money or make a profit. That number one priority might be actually to make the world a better place. And we know we've got to make money as part of that, but that means that you're going to make slightly different decisions in your business than you would do if you weren't a vegan business. And I think that's why we see so much kind of pushback against some of the big vegan brands, because they're not actually vegan companies. If you look at someone like Oatly, for instance, very successful, big plant-based brand, they're not a vegan business. They weren't set up by vegans. They don't have anybody who's vegan in any place of influence within that business. And that's why sometimes they make decisions as a business that as vegans, we're going to question, and we're going to say, well, that's an odd decision to make. And it's because they're not vegans. And so, that's why it is so important to have people who share your ethical mission and who know why you're doing what you're doing actually around you to support you when you're launching a vegan business.
You've got the last word, David Pannell. Thank you so much. Everybody go over to Vegan Business Tribe and get to know David and his energy for yourself.
Michelle, you are far too nice, but thank you very much.
So, what did you think about David? I think his insights into the vegan business world, is it too cliche to say are truly eye-opening? Because it is a process of seeing what's there and seeing what could be there. Well, that's what business is all about. And I think his thoughts about challenging our preconceptions about what constitutes a vegan business to the idea of emphasizing that importance of financial sustainability, David's given us a lot to ponder here. And I personally loved his thoughts on embracing the vegan label as a differentiator. I am not someone who's scared of the word vegan, in spite of the fact that it can sound kind of all or nothing to people. And I also appreciate that David speaks about his thoughts having evolved on the issue of whether vegan is a word that shuts off some customers and clientele or not. It's all, there's no right or wrong, right? In this situation, this is a way of embracing what's possible and what we're interested in. So the other part of his conversation, that importance of continuous learning, self-development, whether you're a vegan entrepreneur or a conscious consumer or simply curious about the intersection of business and ethics, I hope that you got a little something out of today's episode, and maybe it's inspired you to think a little more or communicate with other people a little bit more about what a vegan business is and what its potential impact could be. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget, subscribe to Vegan Business Tribe. And remember, in the words of David Pannell, everything changes when you change. So keep learning, keep growing, keep supporting those mission-driven vegan businesses and services. There are so many ways for you to veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.